Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 35 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League Show podcast. I'm your host, the FPL guru, self-proclaimed Alex Rex, and joining me today, all on his lonesome, is Scott Williams. Scotty, how are you doing today?
Hot is how I'm doing today, Alex. Sweltering, and that's not just gone sweating over my fantasy picks, mate. It is, it's a baker today, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty hot. I've retired to the front room of my house as well because it's just way too hot in the garden shed for me to be out there today. Tom Hughes couldn't make it today. It's too busy and too important for us. So just left us with us two. I think he's also embarrassed that you beat him this week, Scott. So after he claimed himself to be the new guru last week, didn't he?
He did, mate. He did, yeah. But who's at top up with all of us three, mate? Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely not me. Worst Gameweek one I've had in 11 years. I think my overall rank is like 7.2 million out of like 8.5 million players. It is literally the worst I've ever had as a start. But it's a marathon, not a sprint, right, Scott? That's what you keep telling me. It's not as bad. It's not as bad as the podcast team. But anyway, who are officially bottom of the All in Football podcast mini league.
Yeah,
so
banner in it.
Greater mini league, come last. But thanks everyone so much for joining in. Thanks ever so much for your contributions. All in Football Pod, All in Football P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And thank you ever so much for everyone who's joined the league so far. The league codes are all on our socials. If you want to join them, of course, the more the merrier for the first few game weeks of the season. Then we kind of close down the registrations because we don't want someone just joining just because they're smashing it, do we?
No.
But to touch base on the league so far, let's talk about our manager of the week, Scott.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is
Cinderella stories, isn't it? This?
it really is. Mr. Neil Ladd, also known as Jerome. Neil, congratulations. First manager of the week of the season. 80 points. The auto subs, Mahrez with 1 point, but Kulusevski coming off your bench for 13 points was a fantastic
third sub as well.
Yeah,
why is he third sub?
Yeah, got to question that decision, Neil. At home against Southampton, third sub Kulu. But anyway, fantastic. He's come off the bench for you. Smashed it, top of the league. Season can end now for you if you want. 250th in the world, 250,000th in the world. But yes, 80 points. So well done to Neil. For podcast listeners, he's got Martinez, Emi Martinez, that is. Trent Alexander-Arnold. He had Zinchenko, Trippier, and James. Great returns. Ødegaard, Mahrez, Salah captain. Who goes Salah captain? Who go anyone but Salah captain? Come on. Silly. Kulusevski, Jesus, and Darwin Núñez, who was come off the bench to get a goal and an assist. What an assist for Salah that was, that it hit him and went to him. If it had put Pope on the pitch and started him, he'd have got five even more points than that. 5 more points than that even. Well done to Stephen Goodall. Rocket and Roll, 76 points, and oh my god, DCFC, Dan Clark with 76 points, also equal second. So fantastic start for you guys. So keep going. We won't look further down the table. You have to go right to the bottom to find most of us. Well, Scott, I think what did you get? 58 points.
1 point above average. Yeah, 58. I would just like to point out I was top of our league after match day one. After the first game, I was buzzing off that.
I love that. Tommy was top. And the thing is, didn't you message me after, I think, 4 minutes of the game when Martinelli missed that sitter, saying it's going to be a long season?
Yeah, I was already hating life after that one. But
I loved it. It was brilliant. It's going to be a long season, this one. Just misses a sitter. The team of the week we've got for overall Mendy in goal. So a lot of people had him, to be fair. Fabian Schär only scores one type of goal, if anyone saw Match of the Day too.
Yeah, that's funny.
Hilarious. Or Match of the Day or Match of the Day too. Kelly for defender for Bournemouth, 12 points. Zinchenko with 12, lived up to the expectation for people. Fair play to him. He was very, very attacking in that game. We're going to look at the matches match by match in a bit. Gross loves scoring against Man United. I think he scored like 5 goals against United now. Kulu with 13 points. Salah 12. Jorginho with 11. Classic penalty for Jorginho. Jefferson Lerma with a goal for Bournemouth. Mitrovic, could he do it in the Prem? He could only do it against Liverpool in the Prem. We've covered off a few predictions that definitely went wrong in game week 1 so far. And Erling Haaland, can he do it? Can anyone join Pep Guardiola's City and hit the ground running? Because no one's ever done it before. So why would you invest in Haaland? He's a must wait and see. Well, I wait and saw him score 2 fantastic goals, actually. That penalty was unbelievable. And that second goal was was very ominous. Like,
it's going to be a very typical goal you put, didn't you, in the group? I think you were right there.
As soon as I saw it happen, I thought, I'm really glad that my Game Week 2 team has got Cancelo, De Bruyne, and Haaland in it. I'm saying that now because I'm very happy to hold those guys because I think there's going to be some. And then De Bruyne's tweet to Haaland, wasn't it? I'm happy to assist you on picking your
Best
meal.
mates, bromance now.
Oh no, there's a proper. He even went over to him and high fived him as he went off and got subbed. Don't know if you noticed that as well. Like De Bruyne made a way across the pitch to high five Haaland as he went off.
It's a bit thirsty, that though, isn't it?
I was like, you two are absolutely. I mean, I bet they're hanging out together all the time. Man.
Yeah, Calvin Phillips really jealous, but he's part player, isn't he?
Hey, listen, he celebrated the goal though. The first one, he stood up and clapped and was like, "Yay!"
He came on for a minute, didn't he?
His World Cup chances are in the balance. Right, so let's. We're going to do a bit of a format here. We're just going to go a bit of a different format this week. We're just going to go through the fixtures one by one, and then just look at the lessons learned off the back of them. So some of these will be raced through, and some of them will probably take a little bit more time on. Scotty, you watched Palace Arsenal, 2-0 to the Arsenal. Top of the league for a little bit, weren't they? Martinelli goal, Gahey own goal, a Saka and a Zinchenko assist. What did you make of the Arsenal team? What we expected to be put out, didn't we?
Yeah, I was impressed. Thought first half they're very, very, very good. Everything was going through Jesus. In fact, what really impressed me about Jesus was when he had the defender behind him touch tight. He was getting that ball to feet, and he looked so sharp. And they kept saying it all the time on commentary. He looks so good. Second half, the boy Anderson. He really had his number second half. It must be said. I thought he was fantastic. His balls as well. His absolute diags, as one of our friends Liam would like to say. His diags were amazing. But Arsenal, impressed me. They did. I mean, I think we always knew they had the attacking attributes in Saka and Martinelli. Obviously, Jesus didn't return, but again, it was only if you didn't see the game that you would be saying, "Oh, Jesus out." No, definitely not. He will be returning. He looked very, very good. Odegaard pulling the strings. If you watch the game, why he went to pass the ball when he should have shot, it'll be never beyond me. But no, impressive. As much as they did, Saliba obviously was really good in centre back alongside Gabriel in that game. But I must say, I felt Arsenal were very, very lucky to keep a clean sheet in that game. Palace, especially second half, really came into it. I think Eze had a one-on-one, which he should have scored. There was a Mateta, was it, first half as well. I had a great chance.
It was the Edouard header.
Yeah. So I think for anyone looking at this and saying, "Oh, yeah, Zinchenko assist, Zinchenko clean sheet, brilliant." I was delighted when Zinchenko came off the pitch with his clean sheet bonus and tap, because I thought they're never keeping a clean sheet. So just one to bear in mind. I think it was quite a lucky clean sheet, but a deserved win for Arsenal.
It was a unique assist as well. Like, it was a header back across from a corner, from a set piece, rather than it being actually from open play, which I think is an important thing to point out. It's but in general, I think a lot of people are going, should I sell Perisic and Kane if I've missed the price rise and price fall to bring in Zinchenko and Haaland? Well, I don't think they're wrong to do that at all, actually. And I think that'd be quite a relatively solid pick.
I think what you always look for are your fullbacks. Well, we always do on fantasy anyway. Is it's not so much the clean sheets. That's a bonus, really. I think these days it's can they get them attacking returns, because that's what you expect for your fullbacks now. And Zinchenko, like he did with City, forgot how to be a defender. And he was constantly up at the top of the pitch, wasn't he? So
he was. And in terms of expected goal involvements, Martinelli and Zinchenko were 0.9 and 0.7, which were the highest for Arsenal players for that game. And I think that was quite noticeable when I was watching it, because I saw quite a bit of it. Of this match, and it felt like most of their attacks were down the left. So one of the questions came in is the value in Martinelli rather than Saka, and obviously Martinelli rather than Odegaard, because Martinelli's got up 6.1, Odegaard 6.5, but Martinelli's still the cheapest of that three behind Jesus. Is he the real value in Arsenal's attack? And I think I'd have to say yes. If I was going to bring in one of them three, it's him.
It's one thing I picked up on. There was obviously Ben White was at right. That's hard to say. Ben White was at right back on that game, and he wasn't nowhere near bombing up as much. He's obviously not particularly got maybe the pace to get back that Zinchenko's got. There's no slouch, but he hasn't quite got that electric turn of pace. So things were tending to go down that left-hand side more and more. Saka looked good, but for me, and there's not enough in it to not go for the cheaper option, and that's why I went for Martinelli at the start of the season to free up funds anyway.
Yeah, fantastic. Moving on to Crystal Palace, one of the interesting takeaways was people were talking about 5.5 midfielders at the beginning of the season, who was going to offer value in that area. They started off with Edouard, and as you mentioned, he missed a pretty good chance early on. He got subbed off after 58 minutes for Mateta, who I don't really remember doing much, even though they were kind of dominating the game at that point, but I don't really remember that. Most of their action came from Zaha, Eze, and was it Schlupp, I think, was playing for them as well at one point?
Yeah.
Zaha was just classic Zaha. He is an asset sometimes, he isn't. Sometimes he delivers, sometimes he doesn't. It's just very maybe if you get a good run of fixtures of Palace at some point, you might be able to take a punt on him. I really like Eze. I like watching him as a player, but just seems to end up working out for him just yet. But you never know, it could come true. And obviously, just so everyone knows, if you didn't know, Benteke has been sold to, I think it's DC United or something like that. He's gone to
DC, yeah, he's gone to Rooney, hasn't he?
Gone to Rooney, yeah. Him and Benteke, best mates. So they did 4 substitutions. Palace, Arsenal did 3 just on sub watch. Seeing how many people use however many. Edouard, Ayew, Zaha, Eze, and Anderson all had better expected goal involvements for that game than any other player in the Arsenal team bar Martinelli and Zinchenko. So it just shows, like Scott says, they were probably quite lucky to keep a clean sheet, really. But Zinchenko was 3rd for passes in the final third, 2nd for passes in the opposition half. He was, I think, I've seen, in terms of transfers in and out so far this week, Haaland and Zinchenko in for Kane and Perisic. It's pretty high up on the list. And also Mitrovic in for Jesus, for people who are panicking about that. Personally, I wouldn't be panicking about Jesus, like Scott said already. I'd be doing the Perisic move if not, because Sessegnon scored. He's very, very unlikely he's going to be dropped for this week and also beyond. So yes, I wouldn't be doing that move personally. Should we move on, Scott?
Yeah, sounds good.
Let's go to Fulham against Liverpool. My key takeaways from this was, can Mitrovic do it? Well, yes, he can. Can Trent Alexander-Arnold still not defend his back post? Absolutely. Didn't look over his shoulder once. Mitrovic jumped over the top of him and bullied him. There's a reason Southgate didn't pick him, but anyway, I think he's unbelievable going forward, but that is definitely his weakness. Mitrovic obviously still one to watch, but a great start this time, has to be said. Takeaways from any other one from Fulham? I think Pereira seems like a good 4.5 million option. He's on set pieces. Anything else from Fulham other than that, Scotty?
Not really. Just very, very. They look very, very good. They impressed me. I did. I mean, it was 1 out of 38 games, but I did predict them to stay up this season. And yeah, Mitrovic, the difference between Mitrovic this season and when they came up last season, obviously he dominated in the league, but then Scotty Parker didn't fancy him last time they came up to the Prem, so he did actually start on the bench a lot. He's going to be out and out their main boy, and yeah, very impressed by Mitrovic.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some Pereira to Mitrovic this season with set pieces and headers, etc. One of the key things to take away is from the Liverpool side, I felt, was the front three. So they started with Diaz, Firmino, and Salah. Firmino's average position on the pitch was a hell of a lot deeper than when Nunes came on, who was right up top and ended up getting a goal and obviously an assist to really change the game. Nunes start next game for you?
100%. Firmino's done now. He'll be on the bench now. He just wanted to get his eye in. Then 2 substitute appearances off the bench against City in the Community Shield, and now a couple of goals and assists is 100%. Especially now they've not a winning start. 100% Darwin Nunes will start next game.
Yeah, I agree. And Salah was classic Salah. Diaz. So everyone's been really. Obviously, he didn't score. He did at the post. Your takeaway from Diaz, is he still somebody who you would look at potentially over Nunes and Robertson? Because I think, again, for a lot of people, that's a decision.
I'd definitely look at Irvin Robertson just because how shaky they looked at the back. So, I mean, it didn't look like the old Liverpool team that's going to be keeping clean sheets. Diaz, for me, I have Diaz in my team, and I'll be certainly sticking with him for a few more game weeks. he looked pretty dangerous. He arguably looked more dangerous than Salah in that game, I thought. He hit the bar. He did have a goal disallowed. I mean, Robbo was a mile offside, but it was an unbelievable finish. So for the goal, he looked really dangerous. I like Diaz. I think he's going to do similar to how Jota started last year. I think he's going to be doing that. Darwin Núñez for me is going to be one with he's going to be one to look at for sure. How much is he? Is he 9? Is he?
9
9. So obviously
yeah.
a million more than Jesus, which most people have. It'll be one to keep an eye on. If you've got a bit of money banked away, if you've sort of kept it, that could be an option for you to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got Salah and Trent at the moment, and my real consideration over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to really try and bank a transfer into next week if I can. So I've done the infamous Kane to Haaland already. I did it on Sunday night to be the price rises, and I just thought, well, because I did the wait and see tactic on Haaland, and I saw everything I needed to, so just get him in, and it's that I'm going to be debating my third Liverpool player, because I think you want 3 City, 3 Liverpool, because I still think they're going to be by far and away, especially after watching the first game week of the season, the best 2 teams by far and away. Spurs look good anyway, but yeah, still obviously 1 game week in. So yes, key takeaways from Liverpool are Diaz, stick with him. Núñez, great option if you want to get him in, and probably go for him over Robertson personally. This very moment of time, he could be starting the next week. One of the surprise results of the weekend was Bournemouth beating Villa 2-0. Now, Villa dominated most of the stats on this, and obviously I've only ever watched the highlights of this one. I'm actually I didn't watch it live. But thoughts on this one, Scott? Because I found this quite a surprise, really.
Yeah, it was a surprise. I think when you glance at it and see that, but also like with the Fulham result and the Bournemouth result and the going away against a newly promoted team, first game of the season, is so hard, so hard. As a newly promoted team, I was speaking to a couple of Martin, a Leeds fan. When they came up, they had Liverpool, didn't they? First game.
Oh yeah,
that's what you want. You want a big boy, because you catch them cold. It's always tough, and especially if you've got that game at home. So I guess it shouldn't have surprised as much as it could. I think we all expected Villa. They've had another full summer with Gerrard. Well, full summer with Gerrard getting his players in. We expected them to be potentially pushing for Europe this year, I think. So that was a bit of a surprise, I thought. Danny Ings as well starting over Watkins was a big surprise for me.
It was a big surprise, and then he started Jacob Ramsey, and then he took him off at half-time for Buendia as well, which was a couple of quite. I mean, he's doing tactical decisions, tactical moves, but he kept Bailey on for 90 minutes, and he took Coutinho off. It was interesting. It was the way that he was handling it, Gerrard. I don't know what made of it. I mean, they made 4 substitutions in the end. Cash and Dini still look, pretty dangerous. Like they were going to get forward quite a lot. Tyrone Mings being dropped was quite interesting. Diego Carlos and Consa starting at the back. That surprised me as well. Not sure what to make of them. I think they're a bit of a. I've got Bailey, but that's okay because he's 5 million, so I'm not worried about it. But I'm glad I don't have any other Villa assets.
Yeah, they're a bit sticky for me, Villa. They're a bit like I don't like him. I don't like looking at him after that performance, and that I think they're a bit all over the place. You don't know what you're going to get with them.
Exactly.
So for me, I've not got Villa players, and I certainly won't be jumping on any for now.
Well, looking up to the next international break, Arsenal have got fantastic fixtures to touch on those. They've got Leicester, Bournemouth, Fulham, Villa, Man United, Everton, and Brentford. So they've got good fixtures. Villa, they've got Everton and Palace next 2, but then they go West Ham, Arsenal, Man City, Leicester, and then Southampton. So Villa are a bit of a stay. They're just a stay away from me at the moment. I wouldn't consider bringing any option in if I was.
Because you don't know. We've just said there with the rotation. You don't know who's you're very. Other than maybe your Matty Cash and your Digne, you're really struggling with which players are actually going to play. Yeah. So you don't want to be wasting a couple of points come off your bench or 1 point off your bench. So yeah.
Great 3 points for Bournemouth, considering they've got City away, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away next 3.
Needed that, didn't they? Yeah.
They're going to be on 3 points still going to game week 5. So I think that was a really, really good start for them. Really pleased. And it just gives us an opportunity as well. I've had to reload the computer, but I had this saved up anyway to start with, because Kiefer Moore scored for Bournemouth in the game. And obviously I was talking about 5.5 million forwards earlier on when I was talking about Crystal Palace. So I was looking at ones that got minutes, and anyone that played underneath that price and value. And Keith Moore was the only 5.5 million or under forward that played 90 minutes.
Yeah.
The max the other one played was Surridge for Nottingham Forest. Edouard 58 minutes, Armstrong 45, Mateta 32, Greenwood 17 for Leeds at 4.5 million. What was expected? Minutes off the bench for Greenwood. We'll get to Leeds anyway in a bit.
Yeah.
And then Brozier got his 15 minutes, Archer, and then the lad from Brentford played 7 minutes and got an assist, which is an incredible fantasy assist. It was just a blocked shot, and then Josh De Silva had 18 touches before he banged it in the goal. But still, perfect. And then, Geldart as well. But if you're looking at 5.5 million forwards or less, he's the only one that actually played 90 minutes, and he scored.
He's going to play, isn't he? Yeah.
He's obviously going to feature. He was injured a lot last season, so it was just something to bear in mind from those guys. Leeds, next up. You went to the game, Scotty. Your first ever Leeds match. How did you find the cauldron that is Ellen Road?
Do you know what? I loved it, mate. What very lucky to get tickets there. So hospitality tickets, first ever Leeds game. First game of the season. The crowd were amazing. Great atmosphere. Really good game. You kind of expect that these days with Leeds. I thought both teams played quite well. I thought Leeds potentially did just edge it, but Wolves weren't bad. Some quite interesting takeaways when you do watch the team live. Really, I must say, Harrison for me didn't really get involved enough and was far too passive when he got the ball. I would say Aronson, I think he's only 5.5 million.
Yeah,
definitely one to keep an eye on. Very impressive, I really did say. And it obviously looked like he nearly got the goal, but Aït-Nouri decided to stick in an own goal instead. He was really good, I thought. There was definitely some impressive performances there. One to bear in mind, it just goes into what you were just saying about Greenwood. He seems to come on, and apparently this is what he did a lot last year. He actually he fills in midfield. So he came on for one of the, I think it might have been Adams, one of the midfielders, and he just sat in that midfield area. So potentially not one to look at for a cheap striker.
Okay. So I think as well from a Leeds perspective, I think Aronson was definitely somebody to look at from what people were talking about before. What did you make of Wolves live? Because Pedro Neto and Daniel Podence are two players at 5.5 million in a Wolves team that are probably going to play pretty much every game this year, especially judging by the weakness in the bench. And one of the only teams this week that made one sub, and that was take Hwang off for somebody called Campbell I'd never heard of after 86 minutes. So they feel like they were devoid of ideas and to be able to change it. I don't know what you thought of the Wolves team.
I mean, that is certainly something that I thought, strength and depth. The only player I knew off the bench was Conor Cody, who's obviously now gone to Everton. I was quite impressed by Wolves. I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, with Podence and Neto, small players, nippy, really good on the ball. They did some really good interchanges of play. I was fairly impressed with them. Like, if I hadn't seen the game and potentially just watched Match of the Day, you don't get the flavour of the game as much, but their movement was really, really good. So the movement for the goal that they had, I thought was a well-constructed goal as well. I think the ones that have gone for Neto, I'm one of them. Stick with him. I honestly thought he was quite good, linking up well with Podence, I must say. But yeah, certainly for me, the best player was the guy. He did actually score, but he scored in the wrong goal. Aït-Nouri. I know he got -1 this week, but
was he really good? Because honestly, like, this is where watching the game makes all the difference. I've got Aït-Nouri, and I just gone like he scored an own goal, and it looked like he kind of faffed about for the other goal.
He's so good. He's so good. Honestly, he had the Leeds right back, the new boy. What was his name? Can't remember his name. Christensen, I believe.
Yeah.
He had him on toast. Absolute toast. He was fantastic. He's one touch give and go. Sort of compare him to Jack Harrison, and obviously different positions, but Jack Harrison really quite passive in that game. Where Aït-Nouri he wanted to go forward. He was so intricate with his play. I was really, really impressed. Out of everyone on the pitch, Aït-Nouri impressed me the most.
Okay. Well, good stuff. Good win for Leeds. Great start for them. Newcastle, they're a team that we need to talk about. I've got a few stats about these guys to sort of bust through Newcastle nice and quickly. But they played 4-3-3. They made 5 substitutions. They felt like a team that were really together. And sorry, my screen keeps resetting to the top for YouTube listeners, and I have absolutely no idea why it does this on the match center. I'll reload it after I've done the Newcastle game. But Trippier was fantastic at right back, put the most crosses in the game, and also Matt Targett as well was really heavily involved. I think that they're all options across the back, both 5 million. The midfield was interesting as well, looking at Bruno Guimaraes or Guimaraes, I don't know how to say his name, but I think is it Guimaraes? Along with Joe Linton and Willock, they all were creating a lot of opportunities. They were all involved. I didn't really know who was the City midfielder out of them when I was looking back. Alan Saint-Maximin from wide. I think again he looks a much better option when he's put in that position. Callum Wilson is he does what Callum Wilson does. If he's fit, he does score goals. So he's always a fantasy option, but it's just he's 7.5. I wish he wasn't 7.5. It's like it's like Joe Willock is 5 million. He's someone to look out for at 5 million if he's going to play a lot. I think his XGI was basically the highest out of anybody other than Callum Wilson for that game. And Joe Linton's obviously not an option because Bruno Guimaraes, who is somebody who takes set pieces, he's such a creator in the game. It's the same. He's 6 million like Joe Linton. But I wouldn't shy away from Bruno. I wouldn't shy away from a player like Trippier. And also, if you want to take a punt on someone like Callum Wilson, I don't think they're a bad team to take a punt. I mean, don't get me wrong, their fixtures don't look amazing. Brighton away, City at home, Wolves away, Liverpool away. So they're not that great over the next 4, but they are cheap enough to take a bit of a gamble on if you wanted to. But then the fixtures really start to turn: Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth. But then they do get better moving forward. So keep an eye on Newcastle and sort of be ready to move on a few of them because I think they're looking like a good team. Anything to add on Newcastle, Scott?
No, just I think we got from Newcastle what we expected. I would just back you up watching the sort of highlights. I don't know who was the holder midfielder. Joe Linton was getting forward, Guimaraes was getting forward, Willow was getting forward. So keep an eye on him. Wilson, I've got him in my fantasy draft team. He's going to be returning for you.
I think he's fantastic. I
don't think we learned any lessons personally from Forrest in that game.
No, just Nico Williams is playing as a right wing back in like a 5-3-2 formation. So as a 4 million option at the back, he's the best 4 million option. I mean, Patterson played. He's the only other 4 million option that played in defence. And both of them are just quite simply bench fodder who will come on and will probably score you 2 points if somebody doesn't play on your team. But worth keeping hold of. He is playing, so it's not somebody that you need to get rid of anytime soon or anything like that. Spurs taking on Southampton. Spurs were, I mean, as a Kane owner and captainer, seeing a 4-1 win and him having no returns was pretty annoying. But at the same time, can't lie. I think I think they still look like a good team put together well. Son, though, had the best opportunities and also had the best XGI of the lot of them. He got an assist, so he was probably the best captain option out of the Spurs team, like we discussed before. In the end, but Kulusevski was the man. Looked incredible, goal and an assist. Eric Dyer with his first goal in 3 years. Ryan Sessegnon with his first goal for Spurs in the Premier League, an own goal, and then Kulusevski. I mean, that's 4 random goals you'll never see again in a game. 2 assists for Emerson Royale, which is hilarious, from their third choice right wing back. So I mean, I wouldn't be jumping on him anytime soon, but still, Sessegnon at 4.5 mil, I think he is. He's going to be holding down that left back position surely for a little bit. Scotty, what did you make of Spurs briefly?
Really good. Kulusevski. We was debating whether he was going to play. Obviously, we know Richarlison's obviously banned first game, but even if he was back next week, he's not getting that Kulusevski out. Wow, frightening performance. Yeah,
he looked really, really, really good, and he's so young, and he's just such a good asset. Southampton, Ward-Prowse with a goal, good goal as well. I think they're just a steer clear team for me.
Yeah,
still
going down, so stay clear.
Yeah, I really hope Ward-Prowse gets a move before the end of the window. I mean, he won't, because he's signed new contracts and whatever else, but I think he's.
Man, you might for a 90 million at him, mate. You never know.
Honestly, I'd take him over on Arnautovic. Anyway, let's not stick on there. But yeah, in terms of Spurs, sell Kane for Haaland 100%. If you can do it, Haaland looks frightening. Kane looked like he was dropping a lot deeper. Don't panic if you've got Son. I think one of the big debates is selling Son for KDB, potentially, that some people have that debate and thought. I think City looked probably more frightening because they were playing West Ham, for an example, especially away, than Spurs do against Southampton. And also Spurs play Chelsea next. So I wouldn't be taking like -8s to do it, probably, but I would look maybe at doing that sideways switch if you wanted to do so. I think De Bruyne is going to be on it against Bournemouth, personally. And selling Perisic, I don't think it's a bad move. His price is only going to go down. You can always jump back on him later on. And if it's freeing up money to be able to get on someone like Haaland, I think he's the player like Antonio was last year. You need to get on him now, because he's the player that's on fire and you can tell how good he is. And City's fixtures are really good. So, yes, I'd be taking a -4 without a doubt to get Haaland in. That's not even close for me. Definite -4. Potentially even a -8 if you really, 7.2 million in the world and you want to sort your team out. Everton Chelsea. Did you watch the Chelsea game, Scotty?
No, there was a better game on BT Sport, mate, that I watched.
Oh, was Scotty on?
Yeah, Scunny Oval.
I didn't know. Well, I didn't watch the Chelsea game either. I wasn't watching telly. I didn't know Scunny were on at that time. I did know because you did tell me, but I'd forgotten. Chelsea. Anything to make of these guys and the fact that they still don't have a number 9 who could put the ball in that and they scored a penalty and got past the rubbish Everton?
No, I mean, Aubameyang's looking like it's going to be coming across. Maybe De Jong. Not really. From what I saw on Match of the Day too and what I've heard, it seemed like a pretty dull game. Yeah,
it's Chelsea using 5 subs, I think was one of the key takeaways. The big boys mostly did, really, to be honest. We'll see what happens. But Mount, Havertz and Sterling being the front 3, they're going to have a very expensive bench if they buy Fofana for 80 million, aren't they? But hey, listen, that's when you've got a lot of money. Chelsea for me are still a bit of a wait and see. They've got Spurs next. I won't be jumping to get any of them in whatsoever. But it shows even with a yellow card, James still gets bonus points. A lot goes through him still. I wouldn't be really worrying too much about Chelsea and Everton as teams. I guess they passed them with a 4 million option for a defender. Sunday's games, Leicester Brentford. For a guy who had double Leicester defence, I kind of had double Leicester defence without realising I had double Leicester defence. Because obviously I got Warden as a 4 million keeper, and I thought, well, I'll put him in. He's playing Brentford at home, you never know. And then I had James Justin, who I was really excited about, and I was really pleased with the way he played, actually. But I suddenly realised I had double Leicester defence, and I thought, oh, crikey, 2-0 up here. This might go all right. Then bang, bang, Ivan Toney delivers a goal, and De Silva at 4.5 million as a midfielder delivers a goal. Thoughts on this rabble, Scotty?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a weird game, wasn't it? Leicester 2-0 up. You think, so I've got the game under control, and then, Brentford coming back. Again, not really too many lessons learned. I think everyone sort of got the, Warden, haven't we, for Leicester keeper. Looking at the highlights, Vardy just looks a bit slightly slower. I know he's going to start declining that pace. He's not going to be as electric, but didn't seem as scary in there. But no, I think Brentford have got a couple of. Keep an eye on, especially sort of in that midfield. They've just brought a new player in as well.
Damsgaard, yeah.
Damsgaard, I like Damsgaard. Yeah, I think he's a very good player.
I don't know if his price hasn't been revealed yet that I know of. I haven't checked on Twitter actually in this afternoon, so it might have been. But he's a player to watch out. He'd probably be 5.5, maybe 6 million, I'd have thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's interesting. It's annoying, really, because again, it dampens De Silva. Now, we talked on this podcast maybe nearly 2 years, but a year and a half ago, we were talking about players from the Championship that we think that maybe the Premier League players. And I said De Silva at the time because I think actually he's a really good player. He had loads of injuries, and then he scored a really good goal. But it's just going to be another player coming in his position. Ben Mee's debut didn't go well, did it? And then he got taken off and they went into a back 5. Yeah, I agree. And Mbeumo looked as dangerous as ever without producing anything. Toney again looked good. So I think generally speaking, they've got a few people just to watch out for. Dewsbury Hall scored a cracking goal.
Brilliant goal.
Cracking goal. 5 million as well. He's going to play. I think actually, Dewsbury Hall's somebody that we're going to be looking at moving forward as to fill our benches. He's as he was pointed out last season. Do you want to talk about United?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Because I don't really.
We were just talking about who to stay away from on Man U. I mean, we didn't tell anyone to jump on anyone, did we? So what an absolute horrendous performance that was, mate.
It was really disappointing because actually I think in pre-season we've looked quite good, but then we played in pre-season with a number 9 every single game, and then we started this one with a false 9, and it just didn't work. Need a central midfielder. We played with McFred. I mean, nothing's going to change there at that point, is there? So until they can sign a couple of central midfielders, I don't think there's any point even touching most of the United players. Don't get me wrong, we had more shots than most, but that's because Brighton sat deep. So yeah, they're a stay away still at the moment at Man United and a wait and see. And Brighton, Sanchez in goal, all right, I suppose.
I was impressed. I was impressed with Danny Welbeck.
Welbeck's the guy. Like if he stays fit, which is what everyone said about Welbeck for his entire career, if Welbeck stays fit, then he's definitely leading the line for Brighton.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. He's the player that's going to be up front for them. Yeah. Any other takeaways from Brighton other than just to sort of?
I mean, the 2 goals were bad defending from Man United, I must say, but yeah, well deserved win for Brighton. Keep an eye on Welbeck. Like I say, he's going to be their go-to striker.
He's just 6.5 mil, which is the only thing. He's that little bit higher. If he was like 5.56, I think a lot of people are jumping on him. I think FPL have just priced him that teeny bit too high to get people in, because a lot of people are going to want that Haaland or Kane or Haaland, and then they're going to want Haaland with Nunez. And then if you're going to do that, then you're not going to put a 6.5 with them, because then your budget's totally gone. So yes, but yeah, keep an eye on those guys anyway, that's for sure. And then finally, West Ham against Manchester City. Haaland winning a penalty, scoring it. De Bruyne assisting Haaland, as we joked about earlier. I think there's the takeaways are that those 2 guys are going to be key and pivotal, and then the rest are going to kind of rotate around, aren't they? Yeah. Foden came in for Mahrez from after the Community Shield. Grealish obviously playing on the left-hand side looked okay. I wasn't overly impressed with him. And then Cancelo and Walker were cutting in to join in the midfield and joining the play just the same. Their average position was very, very similar. So I think overall, if you've got Walker or Cancelo, obviously stay on them. If you've got Edison, stay on him. But if you can afford De Bruyne and Haaland, I'd be on both of those. But other than De Bruyne, I'd probably be staying away from the midfield options for City. I'd be looking at a double up at the back, potentially with Cancelo and Edison, or even Walker and Edison if you want to, but Cancelo, Edison, Walker, Edison, and then Haaland up top. That's my takeaway from City. Your boys, West Ham, Scotty? Thoughts?
Yeah, tough opening game, wasn't it, for him, let's be honest. Not really. I've just scrolled down, mate. I think West Ham's just come off the screen there. It's just decided to jump back up there.
Apologies, it does it all the time. Listen, I've even refreshed it like 3 times while we've been on, and the screen keeps jumping up.
I don't think we learned a lot at all from West Ham. They just didn't fancy it. It was very much backs against the wall. They didn't really seem to be brave enough that game, which surprised me. First game of the season. You want to start well, but it's not the end of the world if you get beat 3 or 4. It's against City for me. Mm-hmm. No, Bowen, we'd said all this before. I think you look at your your effective ownership there, and you can tell that number 1, they were playing City. Number 2, there was no one really that's cheap enough. Like Bowen's gone up, he's quite expensive now. There's no really massively cheap defenders to jump on. They've got a few signings that I would keep an eye on. So Samaka, the striker, I think he's a striker, isn't he? Has just come in.
Yeah.
And then I think they brought another one in as well. I think West Ham will do well, but you can't really judge them when they play Man City first game, I'm afraid.
No, not at all. And I think, as far as I'm aware, they made the maximum amount of substitutions as well to save their players. So, I don't blame them at all for that. And if we look at the fixture difficulty rating moving forward, because I think West Ham, Forest, Brighton, and Villa next 3. You find out about Forest, West Ham against Forest, and Brighton and Villa, don't you? Those are those 3 games where you're going to start making a decision on West Ham assets for the season. And they've got Spurs and Chelsea, those two, and Spurs, Chelsea, and then Newcastle, and then they've got Everton. But the next three for West Ham are good. I'm happy with the pod team owning Bowen moving forward. And we'll see what comes of there. We'll stick on fixtures for now, because we'll just have a look at the teams to invest in. And obviously Brighton are a team that have got a good run of fixtures. Newcastle at home, West Ham away. I don't think those fixtures are actually as good as they say that they are. I think they're actually quite tough fixtures. Newcastle at home, very strong team, and West Ham away always hard. But then they've got Leeds at home, Fulham away, and then leaky Leicester, followed by Bournemouth, and then Crystal Palace. So from game week 4, Brighton's fixtures are really good. So I think give the next couple of games, let's have a look at someone, for example, Welbeck's, or how someone like a Lamptey or a Gross or anybody like that, and see how they're playing, and then potentially look at those guys from there. And obviously the defenders as well are quite cheap at 4.5. Arsenal, good fixtures: Leicester, Bournemouth, Fulham, Villa, before they place Man United away, and then Everton in game week 7. So they've got a really good run as well. So again, you're taking out Perisic to get in Zinchenko. They are high up the fixture ticker. It's not a bad move if you want to go even cheaper. Saliba as an option's never getting dropped now, is he? And actually, he was a bit of a bonus point magnet. So he's someone that you could go for. Brentford, give them the United game and then see what you think after that. And then, City right up there. Bournemouth, Newcastle, Palace, Forest and Villa in the next 5. Like I said, don't hesitate. Get Haaland in and captain him against Bournemouth for me. And don't wait to get on the bandwagon and wait and see, because Bournemouth at home's, I think City have scored an average of 4 goals against Bournemouth at home every the last times they've played him. Be surprised. Team to stay away from again, and the fixture ticket: Palace and Newcastle potentially, and Bournemouth, Leicester. There are a few wait and sees down there as well. So let's have a look at the fixtures for this week coming up. So the deadline is at 11 o'clock on Saturday, this Saturday coming. And the early kickoff to avoid is Aston Villa at home against Everton, live on BT Sport. Then we've got Arsenal-Leicester, which should be a good game. I'm looking forward to watching the highlights of that one. I think that'll be a good match. Brighton-Newcastle, City at home against Bournemouth at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. It's going to be a whitewash. Southampton at home against Leeds. Again, a good game, I think. That's going to be something that's going to be quite an interesting one. I think Leeds, again, a good momentum. Hopefully do well. Wolves-Fulham, big game early on for those two. And then Man United playing Brentford away on Sky Sports at 5:30 on Saturday. So, I won't be rushing home from our good friend's son's first birthday to be watching that. I think I'll be staying there as long as I can do. Forest, West Ham, Chelsea, Spurs. And then Monday Night Football, the first Monday Night Football of the season, Liverpool playing Crystal Palace. Scott, the obvious, I think it is, isn't it? Captaincies, Haaland against Salah.
Yeah, you get your 50 pence out of your pocket and do a coin flip.
Yeah, I think it's you can go either way and you'll be fine. I just think Bournemouth are the team to. I'd be going. I'm going Haaland. I'm already captaining him definitely. But I'll be vice captain in Salah, so which means nothing really because Alan's going to play. So yeah, I do think that they're going to be the standout games to get some good points from. Some interesting options in there. Before we move on to then the Saturday after, which will be another Saturday deadline, and then we've got another Saturday deadline after that. So we've got some quite well spaced out fixtures, and in between some of these early ones are some Carabao Cup games. But the Champions League wasn't kicking. I think it was game week 4 or game week 5, a little bit later on anyway as well. So yeah, don't forget the deadline. That's it for us for this week, boys. Just me and you then, Scott. I was getting too used to saying that to Tom. Thanks ever so much for joining me today, Scotty. And thanks ever so much for everyone for tuning in and all the lovely feedback we've had. Really appreciate it. We'll try and get the podcast up as soon as we can do. Don't forget to follow us on All Football Pod, All Football P on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. Like this video and subscribe to the channel, because I think we've only got like 13 subscribers, but we're getting like 40 views on our videos. So subscribe to the channel because it helps boost the channel and puts it in front of more people organically. So make sure you subscribe. There's a link on the out screen that I'm going to put on that you can click, which should just be a picture of the badge of our logo, and then you can subscribe to us. And don't forget to like the video as well. But thanks very much for joining us, Scott.
That was right.
And we will see you next week. Green hours all round. Well, I can't not have a green hour really this week. Oh well, my famous last words. Bye for now.